What is the YouTube? It's your boy Shannon coming at you with another deck profile. You did see the title correctly. We are playing the Blurple Kaido. Yes, sir. Getting it in with our boy. Not your typical regular purple Kaido, but the blue purple Kaido. I've been having a lot of success with it. I've been tweaking it here and there, and I finally feel like I got it down pat good enough to where I can give you guys a very good list. Just me as a person, I don't like handing out things that are just subpar, right? I see a lot of subpar lists out there, not to talk shit on anyone. See a lot of subpar lists. As a Yu-Gi-Oh player, I like to keep decks as consistent and as powerful as possible, and I feel like I finally got this deck to the point where it is just that, just like my Doflamingo deck. If you haven't seen it already, go take a look. I compare it very much to that. Very consistent, a lot more powerful than a pure Kaido deck. Yeah, don't forget to hit the like, hit the subscribe, show your boys some love. I appreciate all the support you guys been giving already. It's been very well noted. With that being said, let's get right into it. So we're going to start off with our one drops as usual. We got the three Laws and the three Peronas. Again, this is blue purple Kaido, so yes, we play some blue cards, which is awesome because having a pool of blue alongside your purple was insane. So we got the one drop Law. You know, it's a blocker, very good to start off with, and a one drop Perona. Typically when I start off with one of these before your one drops, one of the problems that regular Kaido has is it has no, you know, turn one play, right? So these are very good, and then Perona lets you more consistently get into your field spell, your stage, whatever. Because that's another problem Kaido has. You really want to open that stage, and Perona just expedites that process if you didn't hard open it right after the mulligan. So very, very good. We play no two drops. I took out all the two drop blockers. You know, Kaido plays I think it's like a package of 6 two drop blockers. I took them all out because I'm playing the Law as well as some others in the main deck. But yeah, we're just going to skip straight to 2 because the two blockers that Kaido typically plays aren't, to me, they just aren't that good. They aren't enough, and being able to pay 1 instead of 2 for a blocker is just a lot easier in this deck. Every single down card counts in this deck, I think. Next we go for Who's Who. This card's insane. The synergy with the leader is nuts. The Kaido. So if you don't already know what this Kaido does is, while it's Dawn ×1, if something dies, you get to get one of your Dons from the deck. So the synergy is nuts. You put the 1 Don on Kaido, you summon the Who's Who effect, -1 Don, pop a monster, and then effective Kaido, get that Don that you just took away, put it right back on, and it comes in active. So it's just nuts, right? Gets rid of those pesky blockers, gets rid of those sticky cards that you don't want your opponent to use on your turn that have really good attack triggers. You know, just solves a lot of those small problems, right? So definitely insane. You recycle this card a lot too with another card that you'll see in the deck as well. Next, for 4 drops, we'll start it off with our Boa Hancock. Yeah, she's insane. I tried more copies of her in this deck, but just like my Doflamingo deck, I feel like 2 is enough. Again, if you haven't seen that deck profile already, be sure to check it out, guys. Very good deck. But yeah, the Boa Hancock is just nuts. You know, get that drop power in if you're struggling. It's a huge blocker, and she's just nuts. She's a counter. There's like no downside to this card, guys. It's really good in this deck. And actually, this is the only 4 drop that I play in the deck. This is the only one I felt was like good. So yeah, 2 of her, I think no more, no less is enough for her. Next, we'll start off with the 5 drops. We'll start off with the Crocodile. Newer addition to the deck, and it helped me even out what I wanted to do in this deck, and which is like be able to play mid-range as possible. This card is just nuts. I don't see this card in a lot of deck profiles, not just blue purple Kaido, but like a lot of the Crocodile decks, a lot of the Doflamingo decks are just not playing this card. I think this card is a solid one-off. So it just helps you with those pesky red and those greens. Get rid of those little bodies. They gotta play weird because this card's effect is on Dawn ×1. It's a blocker. If it blocks, you just target a 2 or less drop on the board and it's right back to the bottom of the deck, which is nuts. That trade-off is nuts. Sometimes I'll just sacrifice or use that block and that effect. That catches people off guard because it's just that trade-off. With this deck, like just 1-for-1s, that's actually pretty good. Like being able to answer things quickly as possible is really good, and this card just does exactly that. So I definitely like the Crocodile. I think it has a firm spot in the deck. Next, nothing really needs to be said about Queen. Queen is just nuts. Every time this card gets dropped, it just get the deck going, get more advantage. It's just nuts. It's a huge blocker. There's literally no downside to this card. This card is just nuts. So definitely the 4 queens. Next, we're at the Queen. This card, I wasn't a fan of this card at first, but then once I started playing the deck more, I realized how crucial it is. Again, I play mid-range, like most Kaido players should be playing. Not really too aggressive. This card just helps that process. Once you get mid-range, you get the control of the game. Dropping this card is just nuts. making them -1 is just insane. A lot of times they use a lot of counters to stop you, a lot of your big bodies, so they already have a lot, like they already have a low hand count. They're just dropping this card, getting that extra card in hand is insane. And then on top of that, that 2,000 counter is nuts. Like 2,000 is really good, so why not? There's literally no downside to this card either. Next, this is gonna be a lot of talk about this, but I only played one king. So the problem with Kaido that I found was I kept losing, even in regular Kaido, but this Kaido, I found the hands, my worst hands were hands where I was breaking on just the big guys. Big guys are definitely really, like, you want to see them, but one, they have no counter, and two, the way I've built a deck, if you haven't noticed already, I made it as consistent as possible. We know we're playing the Perona, we're digging more, we're getting our dons faster. Like the deck is a lot more consistent than the regular Kaido deck. But that being said, like getting to my big bodies isn't as difficult, right? Because I'm playing like Perona. I don't only play 4 copies, but having that card as well as other cards that are in my deck, just helps you dig more. Like I don't have a problem getting to this card, so 1 is enough. I don't want to break on these. Any game I've ever lost is because, or maybe it's just how I'm playing. Every game I've ever lost with this deck is because I bricked on big bodies, multiple big bodies. So what I did is I just cut them down because the deck is already consistent, right? So 1 king is enough, right? And then on top of that, the other king, the 7-drop king, again, I play 1. Same exact reason. The deck digs. The deck is very consistent. I only ever need 1. If it's in my prize, cool, it's in my prize, right? I'll get it eventually. If it's not, I'm going to get to it. Like you dig so much with this deck. Guys, when you build this deck and you play, you'll see. And you play correctly, you dig a lot. So you'll get to your big guys. I know it looks crazy. I know 1-1 looks wild. Trust me, I see all the deck profiles out there playing 4-4 or 3-3. I know it sounds insane, but 1-1, it's been working for me. It's fine, right? Alright, for the next 7-drop. Probably gonna be some controversy here, but boom. The 7-drop Crocodile. I have complete and utter faith in this card. It's one of the few big guys that's a counter. Like this card is, that's one of the problems with the big guys, right? These cards aren't counters, bro. They're just not counters. The fact that this is huge, has an awesome effect, and it's a counter, there's no downside to this card. Cool, 7 cost, but whatever. The trade-off for its effect is also insane. So Don times 1, so it now becomes at 8, so you're swinging for 8, but when it's Don times 1, all of your events cost 1 less. And if you're playing Kaido, you know that's insane because you play a lot of 1-drop events and you play a lot of 2-drops, so your 1s become 0, your 2s become 1s. So it's just nuts. And on top of that, it has Banish. So again, once you get into that mid-range, your opponent's hurt for cards, you drop a Crocodile, you start swinging with it, they won't get any prize card. I mean, any of their life cards. So that's just nuts, right? So there's, again, no downside to this card. And the fact that it's a counter is just nuts, guys. Then we got the Kaidos, right? I play 2. Again, don't want to play. I feel like there's just no need to play more than 2. I was playing 3 at first. I started off with 4. Then I was like, all right, this is insane. I kept breaking on. Then I started with 3. Again, kept breaking 2. 2 is the sweet spot. I found it to be good enough. 2 is fine, right? 2 is fine for me. And I don't think there's really much need to be said about this. You want to see this card, but I just don't want to break on a big guy, so I play 2. So really good. And then same goes to the be-all end-all 10-drop Kaido. Again, don't want to break on these cards. I play 2. I made the deck as I literally play One Piece like Yu-Gi-Oh. It's actually hilarious. Don't want to break on these, so I'll play 2. You drop this card. You know, you guys know what this card does. I'm sure you're played against Kaido. Pretty much the same concept. The only difference is that this version of Kaido, it ramps your Don cards a lot quicker and a lot more consistently because of its effect, because of the stage. So you can actually get this out a lot faster and you dig a lot more. So I find myself, because I tested the regular Kaido, it's a lot slower. This one's just faster and you get this out quicker, right? So 2 is enough for me. Next on, don't need to say anything about this card. The best stage card in the game. This card's nuts. Dropping it turn 3 is awesome. It's just, I mean, turn 2 is just insane. So I'm definitely looking forward to that. Next, one of the hearts and soul of the deck are the event cards. All right. So we start off with the 3 Spada. So on top of Perona, you play this. The way this deck works, so obviously you start with 4 life because it's 2 colors. You want to, it's literally protect, I mean, One Piece is protect the castle, but Kaido is true. This version of Kaido, as well as Law. I mean, I'm sure y'all know Rig Ring Law. That deck is insane, but it's the same concept. You want to protect. You have to protect your bodies. You have to protect. So you play a shitload of events, right? A shitload of counters. So this is one of the best ones. I find like 3 is good enough. I don't want to see too many of this because it only does 2,000. which is usually enough because your guys are big anyway. You're playing purple, you guys are huge, but you usually want the 4,000. 4,000 is what seals the deal. But the upside of this card is that you can look at the top 3. On top of Perona, looking at your top 5, you got this to look at your top 3. You got a good mixture, more consistency. You get cards to the bottom that you don't want to see, and it's just insane. And then the trigger, you know, dig for more cards. So that's insane. Next for the another 1-drop. This is the best counter in the deck. -1 Don, plus 4,000. Very self-explanatory, very simple. Does the job and it does it well. Plus 4,000 is does for a 1-drop. Technically it's 2 because you're minus the 1 Don, but not really because you're ramping a lot. So like this card is just nuts. And again, like I said with the crocodile, we got the crocodile up. These are 0 costs. Like they're just free. You don't have to pay anything. You just keep playing these from your hand. And if you play with that correctly, you'll have a bunch in your hand. Because you're moving your deck around with the Peronas. You're moving the deck around with these. You're drawing what you want with the queens, and you just fill your hands with these, and your opponent can just never get through. It's insane. Next for the 2-drops, we got this one. This one's awesome. I like this one a lot. Plus 4,000 is dope. And then that other effect to get a Don back, it comes up a lot too because you're minusing 1 Don, minus 2 Dons here and there. Being able to get those back as fast as possible to get more big bodies out. Speed it up is really good. So definitely insane. And the best counter in the deck is this one. The synergy is insane. Being able to bounce. So again, consistency is key. I can't express that enough. I'm sure you guys played other card games. You should know that by now. Perona. We'll talk about both of these, right? So like I said, I've said Perona a million times already. You summon Perona, you look at your top 5, you keep doing that a lot, right? A lot of times it survives. Certain decks will pop it. Cool if they get rid of it. Cool, it's gone. Whatever. Overheat. Once you get to your overheat, the game now becomes stop your opponent and just keep recycling this Perona. Like it's just nuts. If you're not bouncing Zoros in red, if you're not bouncing like other ridiculous cards that you don't need to bounce, honestly Zoro's like the only one that you typically bounce if it's not one of your own cards. But if you're not playing against red, a lot of the times you're just like 80% of the times you're bouncing this Perona so that you can see your top 5, get what you need, make it more consistent, right? So you just keep bouncing this card. And then if it turns out you don't need to summon it again because your next 5 cards are insane, cool, bounce it. It's at 1,000 counter. Like there's no downside to bouncing this card. And then the other bounce. Oh my goodness, bouncing the hoo-hoo. The who's who is just nuts, man. You'll stop them. You go plus 4,000, and then you'll bounce the who's who, and it's in your hand for next turn. To get rid of that blocker that they're gonna put up, get rid of that other card they're gonna put up to cause a problem for you. It's just insane. So the synergy with these two, with these 3 is just insane. So definitely the best counter in the deck. The fact that you're playing blue and you can have this card in your deck alongside Kaido it's just insane. And then last but not least, a newer addition to the deck. Like I said, I play tested this deck a lot. One of the others, so there were 2 problems that I kept having in the deck. One is the consistency. Well, not consistency. Well, yeah, consistency with the big guys in terms of drawing the big guys. I kept seeing too many of them. Secondly, was removal outside of drawing big Kaido, right? Because you're cool, you're gonna summon the big Kaidos, right? But outside of drawing those, you want other forms of getting rid of bodies, and this just does it very well. Yeah, I mean it's 6 costs, but it's very much worth it. Yeah, just being able to get rid of those big bodies and not have to exhaust cards in your hand is very good. And then the trigger effect is awesome, helps you speed up more early game. So yeah, definitely enjoyed these a lot. Like I said, guys, I try to make this deck as consistent as possible, and it's doing just that. I've been having very much success with it, and there might be some changes in the future. If so, I'll be sure to provide another deck profile. But as it stands, like this deck is just it's very good, guys. I tried the ratios that I've showed you guys here. I try it out if I were you, give it a taste, and you'll see, man. It's just this Kaido is just way better than the other Kaido, I think, in my eyes. Sure, it's for life, but the trade-off is nuts. Being able to have a pool of blue and playing these ratios is just insane. So yeah, with that being said, take it easy, guys.